can't believe you're getting so worked up about some guy.
This one is different. He's honest and he's sweet.
Please.
He would never do anything to hurt me.
He's a guy.
Alright, so here we have part 2 of my Hades costume, which is the makeup and the wig. If you missed part 1, which is the dress costume portion, it will be linked down under this video. Anyways, after minutes of struggling with my contacts to really Hades this bitch up. Oh my god. Whew. This looks insane. I got them in, and it was time for the prime. On my face, neck, arms, and chest, as well as adding on multiple wig caps to make sure that my hair was going nowhere. I used a gray body paint with a foundation brush all over. Multiple layers, being sure to add powder in between some of them to set them, and then adding more layers on top of that, as this body paint was a little bit more on the translucent side. I even went in the pit area, which is almost as weird of a feeling as going in my own ear. For the face makeup, I went a few shades darker than the color I used to set the body paint, and put some pretty heavy lines of contour, because Hades is, as the kids would say, snatched. I added a blend line and then blended it down. To make the demarcation line even more prominent, I went back in with the body paint to crisp it all up, as well as adding a shading all around my hairline. My jawline. And collarbones, which is always a weird look, and also a weird pose to strike to get them to stick out as much as I needed them to. We're going for a cartoony, non-realistic look, let's say. Opposite to the shading, I also added a white shadow to a pointed brush to add a highlight to the actual bone area and make them further stand out. Also, boobs. For the face and eye makeup, I did one eye off camera, as I do. And for the priming base, I used a black and blended it out with my finger, which is a lot more of a weird feeling when you have contacts in, and when you open your eyes again and the contacts readjust. Once I had it blended out on the top lid and a little bit under the bottom lash line, I added the same color I used to contour on mostly the inner and outer corners, and added a little bit to the top middle, as well as under the bottom lash line. And I blended it into kind of a wing. Then blending out the edges with the color I used to set my body paint. Finally, a black on the middle lid. And further blending that out to the original blue. And not intentionally, off camera, but oops, I used a black and silver glitter liquid eyeshadow onto the entire lid with my finger, as well as a purely silver to the corner, and once again blended that out. And a black kajal eye pencil to the bottom and top lash line. A very messy but doesn't matter eyeliner to the top lid, and topping it off with mascara to the top and bottom lashes. To continue the facial contour, I used the same color and a smaller brush. Did it both sides of my nose and then the tip, as well as adding a highlight to the top center. And then it was brow time. I shaped them a little bit at first with a spoolie brush, and then with a black body paint and an extra fine brush I shaped them. Literally just referencing his brows, and they definitely turned into sisters, not twins this time around. The main things to note about these are that they need the angle, there's no straight line anywhere, and the inner portion dips like a chip. Finally, some cartoon lips. I did some Kim Possible-esque lips with 2 different shades of lipstick, gray on the bottom, being sure to add a little bit of an extra pointed edge, like a fucking villain, and then black on the top. Again, pointing out kind of like the Cupid's bow edge. Now for the wig. I did previously style it about 90%. Obviously, there's a little bit done on the day of the makeup, but for the 90%, here we go. I definitely could have done this with foam or like editing effects, post-production kind of thing, but I have a thing for the vintage pin-up style, so I thought I would just lean into it. Here's my inspiration, one from Pinterest and one from Pinup Pixie on TikTok, whom, no matter how controversial she may be, she still has a great wig. Wigs, plural. I went through a few processes with this hair to try to get it where I wanted it. Maybe that'll be a whole different video in the future, who knows, but this is where I have left off with the process that actually started to agree with me. Having heatless Velcro rollers in the hair, I think that's what they're called, and cutting up a literal bagel bag, because if there's nothing else that I believe in more, it's that plastic should not be single use. I will be using the same method over and over, but essentially I am parting the hair into smaller sections or chunks and painting literally just like school glue onto it. I would recommend clear school glue, even though I used white. Learn from my mistakes. But I paint this on as if I'm like dyeing my own hair kind of thing, or dyeing a client's hair if you are a hairstylist, even though this is synthetic hair. Oh my god, get out of the f***ing hair. And then adding those Velcro curlers that I have placed a small piece of plastic on in order to not let the glue stick to anything it wasn't intended to stick to. Adding it onto it to shape the hair in whichever way I want it to go. I even used 2 if I wanted the strip hair to follow a specific wave, like the front. And then securing it with a clip or multiple. If you recognize the wig from the Corpse Bride costume, you are correct. Only I had a slight meltdown not being able to handle the length, so I cut probably about 5, 6, maybe 7 inches off of it, or a little bit less. There were a few instances where I left it to dry overnight and then came back the next day to take out the curls and add more in. And then once I got to the point where it had all dried and I had taken out all of the curlers, I then used more clips in my fingers to further shape and place them where I wanted them to be. Whether it's for looks or to cover up any sparse areas on the wig. I used hairspray to set them in place, or for bigger curls, more glue. And here we go. Also, enjoy a little behind the scenes of Source bloopers, maybe? That is it for today's video. I do hope you guys enjoy. Stay spooky.